Yeah, I know.
That's the way I expect
Yeah, I
it.
know.
That's why it's not.
Yeah, he, was cool.
Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills, regular Township Council meeting of December 15th, 2015.
Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided in accordance with the requirements of the Open Public Meetings Law by filing the notice in the office of the Township Clerk and by posting the meeting notice on the bulletin board at the Municipal Building on January 8, 2015, where it has remained posted since that date. A legal notice appeared in the Daily Record on January 12, 2015, and in the Star Ledger on January 14, 2015, and was forwarded by fax to the local newspapers and local radio stations on January 8, 2015. No council meetings are videotaped and aired on Cablevision Public Access Channel 21 at 11 o'clock a.m. on Sundays and are also available for viewing at www.parsippany.net.
Please rise for flag salute. Mr. Stanton, if you would.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mr. DiPiero,
Here.
Mr. Paluso,
Present.
Mr. Stanton.
Here.
Mr. Valori.
Here.
Council President Corrigan.
Here. Also present, Mayor James R. Barbario, L&M Sandman, Business Administrator, John Inglesino, Esquire, Township Attorney, Ellen Sandman, Business Administrator, Ann M. Cucci, CFO, and Nora Jolie, Deputy Registrar. Upcoming meetings, January 5th, 2016, 7:30 p.m., reorganization/agenda meeting. January 19th, 2016, at 7:30 p.m., regular meeting. Discussions. Closed session, resolution. Whereas the Open Publics Meeting Act, Public Law 1975, Chapter 231, permits the exclusion of the public from a meeting in certain circumstances. And whereas the Township Council is of the opinion that such circumstances presently exist. And whereas the Township Council wishes to discuss personnel and contractual issues. And whereas minutes will be kept, and once the matter involving the confidentiality of the above no longer requires confidentiality, the minutes can be made public. Now therefore be it resolved by the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills that the public be excluded from this meeting. Motion made by myself, seconded by Mr. Stanton. Roll call.
Mr. DiPiero,
Yes.
Mr. Paluso.
Yes.
Mr. Stanton.
Yes.
Mr. Valori.
Yes.
Mr. Corrigan.
Yes.
Wait, can I, let's say nothing. Get hired. I like this concept, though. This is good. Yeah. It's good.
Yeah.
Right there. Before consent.
Make a motion to reconvene into open session.
Motion made by Mr. Stanton, seconded by Mr. Paluso. Roll call.
Mr. DiPiero,
Yes.
Mr. Paluso.
Yes.
Mr. Stanton.
Yes.
Mr. Valori.
Yes.
Mr. Corrigan.
Yes. Bids to be taken, December 18th, 2015, 11 a.m. Seal proposals for ambulance driver behavior modification and driving event recording system for EMS. Request for quotations, proposals, qualifications, none. Ordinances for second reading and public hearing. Mr. DePiero?
Ordinance 2015:27, an ordinance establishing hourly wage ranges for blue-collar rank and file employees of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills, 2015 through 2018. Notice for the ordinance above was published in the Daily Record, the official newspaper of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills, on November 30th, 2015. Motion to accept that ordinance 2015:27 be heard in its second and final reading by title only.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. DePiero, seconded by Mr. Paluso. Roll call.
Mr. DiPiero,
Yes.
Mr. Paluso.
Yes.
Mr. Stanton.
Yes.
Mr. Valori.
Yes.
Mr. Corrigan.
Yes. This time I entertain a motion to open up the public hearing on this ordinance and this ordinance only.
Motion.
Motion made by Mr. Paluso, seconded by Mr. Stanton. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? See no one come forward, entertain a motion to close the public hearing on this ordinance.
Motion.
Motion made by Mr. Stanton, seconded by Mr. Paluso. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Whereas the above ordinance was read in title on second reading and a hearing held thereon, now therefore be it resolved that said ordinance be passed on final reading, and that a notice of final passage of said ordinance be published in the newspaper according to law. Motion to approve the resolution.
Motion made by Mr. DePiero,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Paluso. Roll call.
Mr. DePiero,
Yes.
Mr. Paluso,
Yes.
Mr. Stanton.
Yes.
Mr. Valori,
Yes.
Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Five yes.
Paluso?
Ordinance number 2015:28, an ordinance of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills in the County of Morris, New Jersey, providing for retirement payouts and authorizing a special emergency appropriation of $1,363,585. Therefore, the notice of the ordinance above was published in the Daily Record, the official newspaper of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills, on November 30th, 2015. Motion to accept that ordinance 2015:28 to be heard in its second and final reading by title only.
Motion made by Mr. Paluso, seconded by Mr. Stanton. Roll call.
Mr. DePiero,
Yes.
Mr. Paluso.
Yes.
Mr. Stanton.
Yes.
Mr. Valori,
Yes.
Mr. Karifi.
Yes, at this time, I entertain a motion to open up a public hearing on this ordinance and this ordinance only.
Motion.
Motion made by Mr. Paluso, seconded by Mr. Stanton. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, when you come up, please state your name and address, sign in. You'll be given 3 minutes.
Thank you. Roy Messmer, 10 Drumlin Drive. Just a question on this ordinance. I don't know if Ann or Ellen could answer this tonight, or the mayor. As of 12/31/15, in a couple of weeks, what is our total outstanding liability now? Because I know we're paying this off, this amount, this 1.4 million off over 5 years, like all of them, correct?
Yes.
Do we have what our total liability is right now? What's
For
not?
the outstanding sick and vacation,
Right.
not till the end of the year, I won't have that.
No. What we're showing on the books now? Because we've done this almost every year for the last couple of years.
Yes, correct.
So where are we right now, in addition to this 1.4 million?
I would rather, let me look it up and get back to you on that one.
Okay. And is there, has anybody given it any thought about telling the public what our projected liability is? And I realize
Yes,
somebody could...
actually, we have to do
You are
that.
working on that?
Yes,
And that can
Part of the
change, because
audit.
somebody could get sick and really use their sick time. I understand that. Do you
As
think-
part of the audit, we have to do that
Okay.
as of 12/31.
Okay, and just one last question with this 1.4, because I know Captain Karifi was here last week. Is his amount in this? No, he's not in this? Okay. All right, thank you.
Nick Komiak, Lake Hiawatha. Roy just stimulated my mind a little bit there. Do these payouts, like $1 million and Captain Karifi and all of this, do they have any influence on why, for example, the developer RD is supposedly going to be allowed a tax rateable? We're allowing all this because of a hardship for a tax rateable. Does that fit into this, to these equations at all in any fashion or form?
I don't even understand your question.
Well, the town needs money. So how do you get money if you besides how you get money already? What is the purpose of a tax rateable? How does a tax rateable benefit the town? Bringing in a new tax rateable. You don't understand what I'm...
Why don't
You
you
know-
ask your question? So I don't want to impede on your time.
All right, I think I did ask the question, but if you don't understand it, then you don't. Is there any validity in me saying that you were influenced in the RD lawsuit merely because it was a tax rateable, and the tax rateable brings more revenue, so you can keep up the payments?
I think that the resolution that was passed by the governing body set forth the reasons and the rationale for why the governing body entered into that settlement agreement. And there are a host of whereas clauses or preambles to the settlement agreement that also provides the rationale for why the township settled that case.
So it is settled.
refer-
I remember
I would
tax,
refer you to the written record
Yeah.
in order to address your question.
Nick,
but
I'll
I
address it
remember
this
the
way.
term
There-
tax
there is
rateable
not
being-
a straight line. There's no straight line between the unfunded liability and that, you know,
Right.
it's, you know, there's the, you know, revenue side and the appropriation side, and there's no straight line. Of course, we seek ratables. And I will say something, I want to go on the record as saying this. Ann and I have had some very, and Roy too, lots of discussion. We want to take another hard look at how we want to fund the unfunded liability and how the payouts will go. I'm going on record as saying, I'm not comfortable going forward with going out for more and more debt.
I agree.
And we're working on those numbers.
All right.
We have to live within our means as you do, so.
I apologize for not being able to construct my sentence in a comprehensible manner.
We'll take away
Thank you.
30 seconds.
You know, I'm patting, I guess, myself on the back because Ann leaned forward and said, why don't I say, one of the things we did do in negotiations, which needs to be stated, is any new hires, the max, we got something the governor couldn't get, and that's the $15,000. So I know that seems probably a lot to other people, but it's a lot less than $200,000 to $300,000. So I just want to go on record. Thank you.
New hires as of 1/1 of 14, by the way.
Okay, see no one else come forward, entertain a motion to close the public hearing on this ordinance? Motion made by Mr. Stanton,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Paluso. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Whereas the above ordinance was read in title on second reading and a hearing held thereon, now therefore be it resolved that the said ordinance be passed on final reading and that a notice of final passage of said ordinance be published in a newspaper according to law. Motion to approve the resolution above.
Motion made by Mr. Paluso, seconded by Mr. Stanton. Roll call.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Paluso.
Yes.
Mr. Stanton.
Yes.
Mr. Valori.
Yes.
Mr. Karifi.
Yes. Okay, at this time, I'll entertain a motion to open up the public hearing.
Motion.
Motion made by Mr. Paluso, seconded by Mr. Valori. Roll call.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Paluso.
Yes.
Mr. Stanton.
Yes.
Mr. Valori.
Yes.
Mr. Karifi.
Yes. At this time, if you'd like to come forward, please state your name and address, sign in. You'll be given 5 minutes.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. My name is Katie Cassidy. I live at 7 Stephen Terrace in Parsippany. Good evening. We're wrapping up 2015 at the end of this month, and I want to start off by thanking you all for the hard work that you've put in this year. My thanks obviously extend beyond those of you who are seated in front of me today, and include the people who are not often seen but doing the grunt work, so to speak. I come to speak to you today because I feel like the end of the year is a perfect time to be looking forward. We're at a pivotal point in human history with regards to climate change, and I'd like to pose you this question. If you saw the world in 2050, a shadow of what it once was, stricken with natural disasters, large-scale migrations, death, and poverty, would you take comfort in knowing that you did everything in your power to prevent such an outcome? Or would you have an inner turmoil knowing that you took shortcuts? How you, local governing bodies, and others throughout the state and country answer this question will likely determine the world that your children and their children end up living in. I come to you today as a citizen of the United States of America and of Parsippany for all of my 23 years. I come as someone who, like you, feels a great responsibility to do my part to make this town and this country great again. What I hope to accomplish this evening is to share with you my recommendations for preserving open spaces, beginning a composting program, and finding an alternative to asphalt. In the wake of the historical talks in Paris this weekend, people all over the United States, like me, are doing their part to mobilize a grassroots movement on the issue of sustainability. Like many of the nation's scholars, I have spent a large part of my collegiate career, as well as the years following, researching. My research has pointed me to reports from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, or the IPCC. The most recent report came out in 2013, but the first one came out in 1990. Before I was even born, the consensus of climate scientists was, quote, emissions from human activities are substantially increasing the atmospheric concentrations of greenhouse gases, end quote. Though people have denied these facts for years, it is by now apparent. 14 of the last 15 years hold the record for hottest years in recorded history. 2014 ranks the highest, but 2015 is on track to outdo 2014. The agreement reached in Paris is a great start. Our president has told us that it will do much to mitigate climate change. But climate scientists disagree. It simply does not go far enough. The media will tell you that this agreement will save the environment or help save the planet. This could not be further from the truth. The planet does not need saving. It has endured cataclysmic collisions, simultaneous volcanic eruptions, massive earthquakes. This is not about saving the planet. This is about saving humanity. If a rise of temperature is not kept below 2 degrees Celsius, humans are looking at sea level rise, increase of frequency and severity of storms, and resource scarcity. We're already seeing this. Climate change is talked of as a homeland security issue that will lead to increased migrations that will undoubtedly dwarf what we're seeing from ISO-controlled areas at this time. I give you this brief recap only to emphasize the severity of the situation. While an international agreement is a wonderful first step, it is at the grassroots level that you and I must take action. So what do? There are many different ways our local governments can lead the green revolution and work towards goals set by scientists and supported by political and religious figures from across the globe. The two most important mitigating actions we can take as a developed nation are afforestation, meaning planting more trees and leaving the ones that are there alone, and 2, lifestyle changes. God bless you. First and foremost, preserving natural landscapes is crucial, particularly in a highlands region like Parsippany. The value of a natural filtration system that, like, provided by an undisturbed highlands region is unfathomable. The analogy I like to make is as if you had a giant Brita filter the size of Morris County, you would not nearly have the same effect as what's left alone. There's a lot of talk about new research and development on green technology. They talk about carbon and capture and storage. But trees do that for us simply by existing. So in short, the value of undisturbed land is infinitely greater than that of land developed. Secondly, changing our lifestyle is of the utmost importance as well.
Time's up.
My colleague will continue for me.
Great job.
Perfect, yeah. And you couldn't have picked a better night. It's nice and warm out there. So
Yeah, it's very warm.
work for the
Where'd you?
good planning.
Good evening. My name is Jacob Rudolph. I've been a citizen of Parsippany for quite a long time. I'm from 11 Parkside Drive in Parsippany, and I will be continuing where Katie left off. So at first, she mentioned that preserving natural landscapes is very important, and so secondly, I would like to mention that changing our lifestyles at the individual level is also extremely crucial. So although obviously reducing carbon emissions is one important way to mitigate the effects of climate change, it is greater than that. It is a fact that the United States contributes substantially more energy per capita to consumes substantially more energy per capita than any other nation, which makes our actions at the local level extremely influential compared to other countries in the world. So consuming less is important because energy and water are used at every single stage of production. Consuming in a more sustainable way is more effective in the long term. So now we have to talk about how this applies to our town, Parsippany. So first, let me say that the new recycling program with single-stream recycling is an amazing example of an effective climate change initiative. It is an important step toward making Parsippany sustainable, and so I thank you all for your effort on that. In that vein, I think that implementing a composting program in the town would be very effective. Rotting food materials in landfills is a cause of greenhouse gas emissions, and this is doubly unfortunate as these materials could be used to create fertile soil for farming. I would love to see Parsippany add a compost collection program, potentially partnering with local farmers so that they could have better crop yields. And another way to reduce emissions is to make Parsippany more accessible by foot and by bike. Parsippany's master plan highlights a drive to enhance the pedestrian experience by expanding crosswalks and sidewalks. This can and will help make Parsippany more accessible, thus opening Parsippany businesses to a whole new market of people without cars or who don't drive. At the present moment, traveling through parts of town in any way other than a vehicle is downright dangerous. Even this building is not accessible by foot. We can use this master plan goal to do more than create a more accessible town. The process of laying asphalt involves a releasing of a lot of carbon emissions into the atmosphere. Not only that, the rapid fluctuation of temperatures, excessive use of salt, and heavy traffic flow make it such that the roads require repair fairly often. Even worse, if there needs to be any repair to the infrastructure beneath the surface of the road, drivers are often forced to dodge the patchy repairs to protect their tires. There must be a better way. Another concern that we share with Parsippany is that the increasing development in town without solid investors. We believe the town should have a record of what percentage of all commercial buildings are vacant. Development on any new properties should be stalled until the current commercial area is occupied to an agreed upon percentage. This could also be applied with the residential properties as well. In addition, the town as a whole should have, if it does not have already, a limit to the total amount of impervious coverage. Being that we live in an area that has literally acted as a filtration system for thousands of years, we should really monitor how much of that natural filtration system we are disturbing. I know that many of you have worked tirelessly to achieve the goals that are necessary for us to have a more sustainable town and ultimately a more sustainable human society. And I know that you looked to purchase many acres of land for the purposes of preserving it and buying back land from homeowners who were affected by Hurricane Sandy. We applaud these efforts, and we urge you to continue to go further than you have before through preserving open space, developing a composting program, and looking to find alternatives to asphalt. We'd like to pose the same question to you again. If by the year 2050, we find that climate change has affected the world in such a way that there is increased poverty, that there is increased natural disasters, the national security threat that the migration would pose to us, will you feel comfortable sitting in your chairs, looking at the world your children and grandchildren will inherit, saying, I did everything I could as a local administrator to help mitigate the effects of climate change, or will you have regret and say, I could have done more and I wish I had done more? So we came here to speak with you tonight as constituents to urge you to do what is right for the future, to help put Parsippany on the map as one of the leaders in local climate change mitigation, and we would love to once again have pride in Parsippany and know that you all are the ones who can and will make our vision a reality. Thank you so much, happy holidays, and have a great new year.
Thank you.
Thank you. Katie, I just want to add, one thing you had mentioned was to create accessible areas to reduce traffic and carbon footprints. I'd like to see is, I've been talking with our administration right now about putting additional sidewalks in. As a business comes in, that they're obligated to put sidewalks in to create more positive economic development and reduce our traffic. So we like to see more sidewalks, and one of my recommendations was the new Bank of America building going in on the corner of South Beverick and North Beverick Roads on the corner of 46, and merge the sidewalks up along North Beverick Road, including Hawkins and Ball, so it's continuous, because it just stops, and people do like to walk that area.
That's a great start. The part that I was talking about when I said that it was dangerous, wrote that it was dangerous, I've been making that left from 46 to Littleton Road, where you could take Route 80 or go to Jersey Mike's, and I saw, looked stereotyping a little, like an Amish guy walking around, and like was not obviously driving, and it was pitch black. I couldn't see the guy. There's no sidewalks whatsoever there. My own, I know Mr. Dinsmore's on the planning board. He's my neighbor. I can't walk around my block and stay on the sidewalk the whole time. Like, it's great that the new development projects will have this, but it needs to go further. It needs to be elsewhere. I mean, I walked, Mayor Barberio is fond of remembering, I had a whole bunch of people walk out of the high school. We couldn't walk here. We were told by cops that we could not continue because it was dangerous. Why? Because there were no sidewalks. Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Joe Serecchia, Fire Chief for Parsippany Fire, District 6. I have, like to talk to the council. I've been, have some issues with the Board of Adjustment, approving, different site plans in town. We met a few months ago with the mayor and everybody. I'd like to know if we can sit down with the council and the Board of Adjustment. There's 3 major projects that the Board of Adjustment passed without fire department approval. The first one was regarding the Middle Creek Apartments behind Houlihan's. We asked for emergency access roads, loop fire system. Nothing's going on with that.
Okay.
The second one is 1618 Intervale Road. 32 townhouses were approved. At this meeting, we wrote that we needed cul-de-sacs for the streets and a loop system for a fire hydrant. We found out that the board approved, they don't need no cul-de-sacs, and they're gonna put a dead-end fire hydrant, a main. You know, we're here for life safety. The last one is 1719 Route 10 East. I got the plans before November 19th. I wrote a letter to the Board of Adjustment asking the applicant, we'd like to sit down with the fire department about this issue, the new Starbucks. We were told that they were going to take over the old Chase Bank.
Yes.
Okay, now we were told now that they're going to put a building up. So that's when we wrote the letter on November 19th. I wrote the letter as chief asking Starbucks, we want to sit down and discuss this. We got this little site plan about this big with nothing on it. And then they approved just a Starbucks, but they want to put 2 more addition buildings in that same property of 1719. But the board didn't approve that yet. But that's why I like to sit down with this, you know, council, the Board of Adjustment, and go over all these things. We're here for life safety, you know.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I'm concerned about hearing this. This is
Well,
all news to me.
Mayor Barbario and I, we talked, council president was there a few months ago about the apartments behind Houlihan's. He's trying to work on them, you know, talking to them and everything.
Question for you, did you speak to the Board of Adjustment president? I mean, he's been on for a
Well, I
long
came to
time.
both meetings,
Okay,
and at the last meeting, it was approved. We need an emergency access road for our fire apparatus. There's only one way in and one way out.
okay.
So if somebody goes in, you're not going nowhere. We're not going to protect the building. This is going to be 4 stories and 2 stories.
Did you get a reasoning behind
They
why?
said they don't really have to do it. This is some codes or something. I don't, you know, this is what they was said. So we're assessing also about the fire hydrants, the loop system,
Okay.
the water pressure and all that. So they're still working on that. So,
Well, the council can sit in appellate jurisdiction of decisions made by the zoning board of adjustment, so I would strongly counsel against the council being involved in any particular application before the board of adjustment. Of course, the board of adjustment is appointed by the council, so their ability to influence the Board of Adjustment is through the appointment process of the members. But, as it relates to policy situations, I do think that it would be helpful to have a meeting, particularly with the planners, because you have a different planner. And I know there's been some concerns raised, and I say this without regard to any particular application, about complete inconsistency between what the Zoning Board of Adjustment has approved and the master plan, which raises some issues. But I don't think the council should not be involved in any particular application. But to certainly address some of the concerns, which are significant concerns from a policy perspective, is really important. That the Board of Adjustment, understand that, affordable housing issues cannot be ignored, and that's on the professionals. Life safety issues coming from the fire department, the fire chief, should not be ignored.
Absolutely.
And
Should that be addressed with the board president, though,
well, I
as a
think,
council member? About our policy, like?
unfortunately, it's an autonomous board. The Board of Adjustment is whoever you appoint. So if they're not considering these issues,
see, the last one with 1618 Intervale Road, the 32 townhomes, we wrote our letters. These are the reasons why we need, cul-de-sacs, the loop system. I guess they brought in a expert and says, oh, you don't need it because of water pressure. They don't fight, the fires and everything, and we're trying to explain to them, but nobody got back to us.
it's
We have
very
to read it.
unusual because in
all of a sudden, they've just been passing everything right along. We never had this problem.
Yeah, I can tell you that's very unusual. I represent a lot of applicants, I represent boards, and I don't think I've ever been in a situation where a board has ignored or not very, very seriously considered any recommendation made by the fire chief. I mean, that's usually given, tremendous weight and a lot of scrutiny, and to the extent that's not happening here, suggests that there may be some issues, but it's the professionals in the first instance
That should be.
who should be,
Yeah, like I said, we're here for life safety, and
should really be addressing those issues, and the board obviously from their perspective as well, but the professionals should really be in the forefront of addressing those issues.
I know beyond the planning board, that's always addressed, because we have a firefighter that sits on the
Yeah.
board. But I will make sure, I'm not trying to undermine anybody here, that I reach out to Mr. Ira Kane, who's the board president also, and concerning, where we're going with policies concerning your issues, because that shouldn't be happening.
If it's an autonomous board, so you really can't.
Mr. Inglesino, would it be appropriate for the administration to send a note to the professionals on the Board of Adjustment, not the members, the professionals?
I spoke to Chairman Ira King today with regards
You want to speak on the
Can you use the
microphone?
mic?
Yeah.
I just can't set up everything's
Can you make sure you sign in?
I spoke to Chairman Ira Kane today. Thanks, Lou. And he recommended exactly what you said, Councilman DePiero, to speak to the professional. And I'm going to call up the attorney, as well as I'm going to call up the planner, and I already called up the developer as well.
All right, good.
So when I'm trying to, get some sort of solution on this, because Mr. Srecky did come into my office to discuss his concerns. So, but I did speak to Chairman Ira Kane today.
Absolutely. We have a lot of other projects going to be coming forward in the near future, and we don't want this to be a stumbling block.
Thank you.
Good.
But the other two issues with the Intervale Road and 1719 Route 10, can we do something about this, to sit
If
down
they've
with?
already been voted on, there's
Yeah.
really nothing this council can do.
No, 19 Route 10 is a project that's still in the conceptual phases, and as it progresses, assuming that it does, you'll be very, very much in the loop.
Hopefully,
Intended
because,
on that.
like I said,
And
the
part of the planning
Starbucks
process.
is, we didn't even get nothing. It's just a piece of paper saying this is where they're gonna do it. I don't know how they have the room, or,
As the planning process
like I even wrote a letter,
evolves.
like I said, nobody answered my letter. We want to sit down with the applicant about this.
Yeah, it's still that
I'm
project
saying
is.
about Starbucks.
Oh, okay.
And nobody got back to us. This is since November 19th.
Well, the redevelopment projects, like 17, 19, you're talking about, that's redevelopment, so you'll be an integral part of the planning process from the township. That won't be a zoning board of adjustment application, and you'll be very involved in that.
All right, I appreciate your time.
Thank you for
Thank you
your
very much.
Thank
concern.
you for
Thank
bringing
you.
it to our
Coming
attention.
out.
Appreciate it.
Take
We'll
my
get them
time.
addressed. Thank you.
Good evening, folks. Jerry Manning, Rainbow Lakes. I just want to respond to that young couple that blathered about global warming. The National Weather Service can't predict with any certainty what the weather is going to be 2 days from today. And yet they claim they know 35 years in advance what's going to happen to the earth. Foolishness at its best. NOAA presented a report recently, within the last quarter, that the temperature of the earth has increased less than 1% in the last 19 years. So I don't know what we're worried about. The Paris Protocol is a sham. The three biggest polluters in the world, India, Japan, China, are out of the protocol. China builds coal-fired generating plants at the rate of 2 per month. I mean, we have reduced by 30% our carbon emissions in the past 10 years. Hello, we're doing all we can. And consensus of scientists is not settled science. The consensus is just a bunch of guys agreeing to an opinion, period. No settled science. It makes no sense. And the last appeal was to put in sidewalks. Ladies and gentlemen, think about this. That is in direct conflict with Mr. Honiak. He's looking for recharge area, and we want to put in more sidewalks, impervious cover. I don't know how that works. It doesn't make any sense. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you.
No.
No, unfortunately. Sometimes you gotta wait who comes up first, you know?
You can come up, sir.
You should have had the third person.
Rupesh Patel, Leah Way in Parsippany. I'm looking to, you've all read the article about Money Magazine, Parsippany being one of the greatest towns to live in. So I want to propose an idea to make Parsippany even greater. I'm looking to work with the council and the governing body to amend Chapter 290, Section 10 of the town ordinance. This is the ordinance that prohibits vendors from operating in the parks. I own the local Kona Ice franchise, and we've donated over $9,000 back to the community through various fundraisers. Across the nation, Kona Ice has donated over $30 million back to various organizations and charities. And, small business is what drives the communities. And, we want to be a pillar in this community. Some of you may have seen our truck. We're very clean. Our employees wear uniforms. We're engaging. We're inviting. So we want to work with you on, looking to offer the residents of Parsippany something more when they come to the parks. Mr. Valori, you're part of the Morris County Parks Commission.
Yes.
We've got a great relationship with them. We've been working with them for the last 3 years. They've got a wonderful program on how vendors can operate in their park system. We've also got a great relationship with the rec department in Hanover Township, as well as in Morris Plains. So again, we'd like to work with all of you on implementing some kind of change where vendors are allowed in the parks.
I'm sorry, what was the section again that you're talking about?
Section 10.
290-10, and it's
I'm
in
sorry, 290-10?
Yep, letter H.
Thank you.
Mr. Patel, can you tell me if any vendors are in the park currently right now?
There are not any, we don't operate there because we're not allowed, but we've seen the ice cream trucks there.
You see ice cream trucks there
Yeah.
currently?
Yep. So, and there was one time I'm sorry, I'm a small business owner, I call the police. And, if I'm not allowed to operate there, then why should somebody else? We want to work with the community in a law-abiding fashion.
Absolutely, yes.
So,
So either we have to recommend to amend the ordinance, or we have to enforce it, because you're indicating that there are vendors in our parks, and
We've
it's
seen
prohibited
them.
currently. Our police department has to actually, patrol that and ensure
yeah,
it doesn't happen.
we've seen them at Smithfield in particular.
Business Administrator, Ms. Salmon, if you can address that with the police department to ensure the ordinance are enforced,
Absolutely.
until such a decision is made where we can take it under consideration, a recommendation, and analyze it. Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Patel.
you.
Appreciate
Thank
your
you
time.
again, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Samples? No, I'm sorry, just.
Well, it is kind of warm out.
It's been a long day.
It is warm enough.
Roy Messmer, 10 Drumlin Drive. This is going to be interesting. I always get thrown a splitter or a curveball. I didn't want to go in this order, I'm going to run out of time, but I spoke to Dave Kaplan, because I wasn't sure if he was aware of those 32 townhouses, because Mr. Inglesino, Township Attorney, said that you guys have no involvement in that. But back in November, you passed a resolution regarding that piece of property. Now, personally, I'm not real happy what went on there. That was residential property. Somehow, the developer, I don't know if it was the same developer, got in there, got a commercial property, figured out, hey, can't make any money. Then he went back in and he got residential. And with you guys, how you fought Ward of You, Instead of this 54, 60 townhouses, now we got 32. It's going to affect the same school district. And I appreciate this chief getting up here tonight and saying that, because when Bob Arakan got up here, was it last meeting, and he said to you guys, I don't get treated like this, okay? That guy doesn't take respect from the public. And we have a sitting councilwoman here tonight, too, that was on the Board of Adjustments when these properties have been approved. You know, I get so frustrated. All right, first thing, Council President, on the paperwork tonight, you didn't put the December 29th meeting.
Yes, that's, we were going to mention.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. I mentioned it to people.
Oh, thank you.
I got to go quick. You know, I gave you a lot of memos, Mayor, Administration, Council, over the last couple of weeks. I'm not going to go through all of them. You don't want to answer them? Okay. But this one, I do want you to make sure you read very carefully regarding this pilot program down in Bayonne, because this really ticks me off. That how this town, that town, Bayonne, because I know it's already set a precedent in Newark, can get away in saying they're going to build residential units and not pay school tax. That is wrong. Real wrong, John. I mean, I know it's not your fault. What? Okay, it's not wrong. You're building person's building residential units but doesn't pay school taxes. And this developer in here, and they have to put in the second generation, and they're doing so well. Oh, only a few kids are going to go into the school system. It's like Mr. Manning said tonight. How do we know what the future is going to bring with the weather? How in the future are we going to know with these children? So be careful if you get an application in here tonight. Next thing, regarding development, Chris Christie was down the street from my house a couple of weeks ago, ribbon cutting with Honeywell, you know, the old Warner Lambert building. I would appreciate if the administration would consider doing some type of traffic study, because maybe another light somewhere, because it is getting busier and busier on 53. I mean, it's real bad.
Where would that be, Roy?
Well, 53 from your area, Denville, all the way down. It's getting busier and busier, and not everybody's in there yet. Another thing, I brought this up to the school board because I saw a bunch of kids with drones on school board property. You're aware of the law effective the first of the year if you're thinking of buying a drone for your kid or something, or grandchild. We really got to think of something doing in this town, Ellen, about drones on our public property. I spoke to Joni at the school board. I know I'm jumping around here. I'm not real happy with the response I got from the mayor's office through Michelle, Justin's response, not Michelle, that he doesnn't want to paint the 25-mile-an-hour pavement in the road. Well, I'll tell you what the problem would be. We know how many attorneys are in this world now, in this country. Nobody gets a science or an engineering degree anymore. You take those things down and there's an accident, I think attorney's going to have a field day, because 5-6 months of the year, we don't have those signs up. I think that could be a real problem. Real problem. I mean, if you're it has nothing to do with this, but if you're following that Short Hills Mall situation, it happened to be on the front page of Star Ledger today, it's going to be very interesting if some precedents are set there. All right, bear with me. My other memos regarding inspections when a house changes ownership, I think it's real good to do. Okay, how much time I got left, Ryan?
You have 1 minute.
Oh, great. Well, this is going to cause some controversy because no papers throughout the country will print this. Sunday night, December 6, 2015, at 8 p.m., I listened to Obama's 20-minute speech. My question is simple. Can he be arrested for aiding and abetting the enemy? His predecessor was a dope and incompetent. This president should just come clean, tell the world he's a Muslim, he's going to let ISIS or whoever run free to commit murder, destruction, and mayhem. I was raised in a Christian family. However, if Christians were murdering people, I would advocate quick, harsh, and just action against them. We do not know who the enemy is within the Muslim community. Just like the Civil War, World War I, World War II, the president should immediately enact the Alien and Sedition Act. God has already blessed America. Let's ask God for forgiveness, and let's make America safe again. John, thank you. John, you gave me a smirk about that situation when I said about the pilot. No, I know you are. Thank you. But, no, do you have a problem with that pilot and him not paying, them not paying real estate?
Are you
I'm
done?
up?
You're
Yeah.
done?
Oh,
No,
I'm
are you done?
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay.
You know John's never lost for words. He'll
Yeah.
say something to you.
Well, he gets all the time he wants. I don't.
My only comment was that pilots are permitted under state statute. They're permitted.
Right. I have no problem with pilots. You know, I'm the one that brought this up months
Okay,
ago. Right.
I
No,
misunderstood
but
you.
I have a problem, John, when it's residential units and kids are going to go into the school system and those units aren't going to be taxed for school taxes. You're putting the burden on the other people.
Oh, you have to talk to the legislature about that.
Well, it always starts at the grassroots, ladies
Yeah,
and
talk to the
gentlemen.
legislature. They don't. You're gonna run.
One last thing. I didn't buy you guys any Christmas gifts this year, but get this book, The Train to Crystal City, about the, you always hear about the American-Japanese being in turn, the German-American. This is an excellent book. Of course, Hollywood won't do a movie on this one.
Mr. Mesmer, Mr. Homyak's gotten me books, you know. Mr. Homyak has gotten me books for gifts. I'm
Very good.
And I'll report on it.
Touche. Woo.
He's tall. Pat Pataccia, 182 Hawkins Avenue. Just a few questions again regarding the Karifi case. Have we heard from Mr. Driscoll whether or not he'll show up at a meeting, whether or not he's going to give you guys an answer?
I believe at the last council meeting, we asked for him to come to the council meeting this evening. I understand from our township attorney, John Inglesino, that he had a death in the family. So I'm not sure if he had intentions to come or not, but I know I did call him, prior to our council meeting the last time, and I did follow up with a phone call. He did contact me back. I was driving, so I don't talk while I drive. So I did call him back, but maybe because of the death, he did not call back yet.
Well, okay. Timing, it's everything. Don't drop it, because we need to see this man. We're going into 2016 now.
Call back right now.
This is ridiculous. Got a complaint regarding the stores on 46, specifically in the Eckler parking lot. Patel Brothers, Cluck You Chicken, even the Sleepy's across the street on the other side. As you all know, I've said quite often, Hawkins and Ball Avenue has become a very dangerous area with cut-throughs. With the Bank of America going up, it's even now going to be more dangerous. But in between that, Patel Brothers has deliveries. Their truck comes down Hawkins to avoid going down to the U-turn and coming back up to get to the Parkway. They come through Hawkins to get back onto North Beverwick. Cluck You Chicken does the same thing. Sleepy's Trucks does the same thing. But what really amazed me one night, I was shocked. 2 transit buses down Hawkins Avenue.
Oh, my God.
And it's not the first time. Apparently, my neighbors say they do it quite often at night. We need to watch this area. Can you please, whoever handles, like, the stores, to tell them they're not supposed to come through. Please have them do that, because it is getting very dangerous. As far as the new clerk, we haven't heard anything on it yet. I see in tonight's thing we have a resolution for to put 2 people down as registrars. I'd just like to know, first of all, are those titles just until we get this clerk? Will they be taken back? Are they getting a raise with this money? Which I believe Nora and Leslie, both people involved, should be getting money for stuff that they are doing, not within the realm of their job. Nothing against it, just trying to find out information. Also, I know we have some acting directors. How long can you be an acting director before you either become the director or you find somebody? How long could you stay in an acting director's
No
position?
time limit.
And then, what?
That was John.
Oh,
No time limit.
no time limit. Sound like a little mouse that time. Surprised. You're louder, John. Also, I'm going to ask once again, I've asked, I think once before, your closed sessions. It's getting very distracting to the residents that come here and expect a meeting to start at 7:30. Is it possible that you, if you need a closed session before a meeting, to have it prior to the meeting? Not, when the taxpayers are here waiting to have a meeting. Either that or after the meeting as it usually was done. Just to go back to those ways of doing things. I think that's it. However, I like Cassidy's idea about a compost center.
On the, with regard to the registrar, in the document itself, it says when the new person has been,
Yeah, I was just verifying that. Yeah. What's in writing doesn't always mean anything to me.
yeah, well, I'll verify the writing.
Okay.
Okay. And then you asked another question,
About the meetings.
As far as acting, I don't know if you have someone particular in mind, but I believe the mayor is going to put forth the name of the person that's acting at the community center
Okay.
for that position.
Thank you.
So on the meetings, can't do them before the meeting because the meetings have to be advertised, even for closed session. The reason why there have been certain closed session meetings at the beginning of the meetings as of late is because those closed sessions involve items that are on the agenda to be considered later in the meeting, and so the business dictates that the council go into closed session prior to taking action on those items. The tradition has been that when possible, the closed sessions are held at the end to accommodate the public, but there are instances in which that's not feasible given the agenda. And again, really can't have the meeting and meet in closed session until 7:30 because that's when the meetings are advertised.
Pat, I'd just like to comment as well. One thing that Ellen was saying in regards to Resolution 199, if it passes this evening, at such a time when a full-time municipal clerk has been appointed, that could be changed. That's only a temporary solution in order to accommodate paperwork and everything. So it will be
Yeah,
changed.
just because I know we have, we've been talking about it.
Right.
And we've been hearing that, we're close to getting a clerk. Well,
Right.
where is it? It's been said so many times.
Right, and, second comment is that no salary increases have been recommended as part of that resolution, but we appreciate all the time and effort that people have been putting in acting capacities. We have been interviewing close to 40 applicants, and we are going to make a recommendation this evening. Thank you.
Jonathan Nelson, 202 Patriots Road. Really, I just have a question for Ellen. We missed you last week at the meeting here. While you were in closed session, I was reading Parsippany Life, and I read the long article about Captain Karifi and the September 22nd resolution that was passed but doesn't count. I was here that night, and I think I even got up and asked what the vote was, and it was 2-1 with 2 abstentions. I put in open requests, and you say no such document exists, and I understand why, because I guess administration's position is that Councilman Valori was conflicted out. We know the mayor has the authority to veto power with an ordinance, but he has no such power with resolutions. Where is there anywhere in local, state, or state law that administration has the authority to void out a resolution, and where it's not wouldn't go to the courts to make that decision? Because you're certainly at an impasse, because some people who are sitting up on the dais believe that he's not in conflict, and others do believe that he is in conflict. Who is the actual determinator of that conflict? I don't see how it could be one branch of the local government, and we're going in circles with this. So I think more than just me, a lot of people are looking for that answer. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you. I have no answer for that. That's I think way above my pay grade. Truly. Truly.
Nicholas Homiak, Lake Hiawatha. I'm here, but I'm getting in. There's something going on, a phenomenon in the state now. It's called fast track and streamline, and it's an undermined, like the environment is just some obstacle these developers have to get through, and they don't want to go through these. They don't want to take their time and make sure everything's done right. But I'm spending a little bit of time looking at the ordinance. I'm curious to who actually created it, and whether, I know we didn't have the Open Space Committee, we didn't have the Environmental Committee, we're not in conformance anymore. So who created this? Who advised this ordinance? But I would be suspect of it. Allegedly, it's a conditional use ordinance. And I'd just like to read something here, if you don't mind. I'll be very brief. I won't read the whole thing. Courts have required conditional use ordinances to set forth definite specifications and standards in order to constitute valid constitutional regulation. Blah, blah, blah. Conditional use ordinances that do not provide sufficiently defined specifications and standards or are not sufficiently certain are not valid conditional use ordinances. And then it goes on and it warns against possible illegalities in conditional use ordinance for not being specific enough. And the appellate division ended its opinion with a cautionary note that the issue of the validity of the ordinance section cannot be a spurious challenge to the validity of the zoning ordinance. And then I'll skip again. The New Jersey zoning land use regulations, it is probable that numerous conditional use ordinance contain conditions of suspect legality. This has to be gone over. It really has to be intensely scrutinized. I don't like parts of it. I still can't get over the $3.5 million the town wants to pay for a buffer anyway, despite the fact that it would be open space. I don't think the open space investment is even worth it. And the demise of that landscape, that sloped landscape and forested landscape, would probably lead in the future to the possibility that you will have some type of housing there, the way Parsippany goes with everything, because it seems like we don't have really sound advice. We have developers and people who support the developers, and they get together and they decide all the issues, including environmental issues. They don't use overlay maps. They don't use interactive maps. They don't use land use capability maps. It's all pushed up the channel to NJDEP. And NJDEP right now, I hate to say it, under Governor Christie, I wouldn't trust things that are going on. There's even opposition within different parts of the NJP amongst themselves as far as what's going on. Right now, they're trying to undermine floodplains. They're trying to impose upon headwaters. All this is going to injure our sustainability with water and everything. And a lot of these things I hear tonight, even with the fire department and all these things can be resolved, and everybody could sit down in a civilized fashion. Civilization is supposed to be the advancement of society, and we could have with the regional planners, and we'd all be better off for it. But one more question. When they had the emergency meeting, there was a meeting scheduled for Waterview, was December the 8th, and everybody was looking forward to it. All of a
30
sudden,
seconds.
fast track, streamline, boom, we got a meeting right before Thanksgiving, or you guys walk out and you got the zombie eyes, and it's RD's gonna get their way. So, did you guys have any power to say anything when you were in that closed session? Is there any way that the public can know what actually took place? I mean, what happened in there that this ordinance is?
Time's up.
All right, and just one other thing. Speaking of the specifics, there's a lighting ordinance here you might be interested in, because there are places in Parsippany you could still look up and see the stars. But if it keeps up, and they have these advanced lighting ordinances now, and if this is a new RC zone, we're going to create something new, let's do it right. Let's be real specific. I'll leave this here for an example. It's a 44-page ordinance, but I only made several of the pages for an example. But if you're interested, I'd gladly go to the library and submit it to whoever, the planning board. But let's see the stars at night in Parsippany if we can't drink the water anymore.
Thank you. See no one else come forward, entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion.
Motion made by Mr. Valori. Seconded by Mr. Stanton. Roll call.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Paluso.
Yes.
Mr. Stanton.
Yes.
Mr. Valori.
Yes.
Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Before we go into consent agenda, I would like to make a motion for a resolution in hiring Khalid Maiden for the full-time acting municipal clerk position.
I'll second that motion.
Motion made by Mr. Paluso, seconded by Mr. Valori. Roll call.
Mr. DePiero.
A number of the applicants were certified. I believe Parsippany is too big a town for on-the-job training. Nothing against Mr. Madden, but I would have preferred someone that's certified to handle a town with what goes on in this town. I vote no.
Mr. Paluso.
Having interviewed close to 40 applicants and having somebody that has an extensive background and currently runs 4 boards and a budget that's far significant than our clerk's budget right now, I vote yes.
Mr. Stanton.
My vote really has nothing to do with the candidate that was chosen, but it really has to do with the process that was used to pick the candidate that was chosen. I think it was unfair to some of the council members, and I vote no.
Mr. Valori.
Before I vote, I'd just like to explain the process. Before I was selected to be put on this committee to go through the selection process, we were advised that we would probably have a minimum amount of candidates applying. Well, lo and behold, we had about 40 candidates. So myself and Mr. Paluso, for at least 2 months, scrutinized 40 candidates for the position. Each council member here had every opportunity to give us input on those interviews. We had numerous dialogue with our business administrator on questions and concerns. So for anyone to say they did not have input for anything that they wanted to ask us, or with them possibly wanting to interview or sit in on the process, no one came forward. So Mr. Paluso did a phenomenal job with regards to putting together with myself a series of questions that all those candidates were asked and all those questions were addressed. We were able to finalize that down to probably about 5 or 6 candidates, which our business administrator was fully aware of because we were in dialogue with her via email or voice conference. So a lot of time by myself and Councilman Paluso obviously put into getting the best candidate for this position. Needless to say, this candidate has several years with the Attorney General's office, which managed a lot of employees, has an extensive background in law, has law degrees in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and New York. So to say that this individual is not qualified, I find it totally ridiculous. And what was interesting in this whole process, that there was other attorneys that did apply for the position. So I give them the credit for obviously applying too. And some of the individuals that did apply were asking for an amount of money that was much more than what even the mayor makes. So, you know, we couldn't satisfy their needs. I'll throw a little dig for the mayor here. And to be quite honest with you, there was candidates that applied who really, they worked for very small towns and they didn't have a staff to obviously even manage. So I feel very confident, and I think that this individual will do an excellent job for the town and will serve the mayor, serve the BA, the CFO, and the council, and I think that candidate will do a great job. My vote is yes.
Mr. Karifi.
Before I vote, I just wanted to state that I appointed Mr. Paluso and Mr. Valori as the subcommittee to interview all of the candidates for clerk. I know they put in an extensive amount of time into that process, and I want to thank you for doing that. After their recommendation, we were given, the rest of us were given the opportunity to meet Mr. Madden and ask him any questions that we had of him and any concerns or issues, which we did. And I am very satisfied with the recommendation. I vote yes.
3 yes, 2 no.
Motion passes. So the motion passes?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Do you want to have the individual come up and at least Say hello.
Mr. Madden?
Mr. Madden?
You would? Just come up if you want to.
Before? I know you met the mayor.
Introduce
before.
yourself.
Mayor, I met the council, have not met my CFO.
Just use the microphone.
Have not met Mr. Inglesino, so I do want to introduce myself to everyone. My name is Khaled Madden. I've been a resident of Parsippany for about 28 or 29 years. You've heard what they've said about me, so I'm not going to go into my experience and all that now, but I do look forward to possibly working with everyone and working with the town council, working with Mr. Inglesino and everybody else. So we'll talk later to iron out the details. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Okay, good.
Okay.
Do we have any, where's, I don't know where Ellen, is Ellen? She stepped down. I know last week there was a question in reference to one of the items on the consent agenda. 190?
190.
With the insurance?
Health benefit insurance or insurance design
I
administrator.
believe they are here if you would like to. We didn't really have any specific question, but I believe they're here to speak if you would like to hear from them.
Who's here?
IDA is here.
Oh, you're with IDA?
Yes.
Oh, great. Do you have any?
I do have some questions, but respectfully, I
think
would
would
like
be best.
for Mrs. Sandman to return if she can.
Want me to go forward with the consent agenda?
Yeah, you want to go through and then we'll get to that?
No, I guess we'll throw it back on after he's done.
Okay.
Oh, okay. All right.
Oh, good.
Great.
Yeah, thanks.
Good.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ellen.
Mrs. Sandman, we're just waiting for you to return to the
Yeah,
dais before we address any other questions.
A few things happened.
We just held off for a moment for you. Thank you
very
very much.
Appreciate it.
Mrs. Sandman was on township business.
Yeah, and everything is fine with that. Yeah, I wanted to introduce Mike to come out and answer questions with regard to, IDA. We've provided documentation to the mayor and council today, but there's always questions, and
Sure.
we'd be happy to answer them. One of the things that was very important to us was the SOC report.
Yes.
That was provided, asked to be provided by the auditor. There were, concerns with that. That has been provided. It has been reviewed. So, if and any additional questions, but and as far as the surety, I know that was received a while ago. The additional
Surety
information that council.
Sir, what is your name?
Sure. My name is Mike Atkinson. I'm with
Atkinson, Mike Atkinson.
Yeah, Insurance Design Administrators.
And you were here last council meeting?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought, okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Yep.
Okay. My question, I know this has come up at numerous council meetings.
Sure.
At the beginning of the year, we voted no to Fairview Insurance. Okay. Being our broker,
Okay.
not you guys.
No, I understand.
Okay.
Yep.
I've done numerous research, contacted numerous towns, other areas. As far as you guys are a separate, you're the insurance
Yeah, we
provider.
are the administrator. We handle the day-to-day activity of the plan.
Okay, so if the council voted no to Fairview for their contract, does that affect our employees' insurance in any way? Because I've gotten that answer from a number of other towns, and it's all the same answer.
Well, I don't think it affects the benefits that the employees are
So it doesn't affect their
presented.
benefits whatsoever?
Not their benefit package, no.
Okay.
How long have you been involved in this line of work for?
30 years.
30 years? And in this leadership role now, how long?
I've been a sales representative for IDA for roughly 22 years.
Okay. Have you seen any towns ever lose their insurance based on what Mr. Creefy had said in regards to a broker?
Well, a broker is a critical piece to the whole puzzle of the program. They're integral in the meetings, into the design of the plan, if you will. They get involved with we do the reporting, we get the claim data, we all get together.
Once you're approved,
I'm sorry?
once you're approved,
Well,
the employees have their insurance.
well, the employees have an insurance program in place.
Right.
And we do the administration. The broker is the advisor of that plan.
Okay. But the employees still have their insurance.
Well, no.
No, well, there's...
Well, wait.
Well, I don't
All
know.
right. I have a question for Mrs. Salmon. I'm going to ask you. The insurance without the broker, the insurance is in place. Does that affect, without the broker, does that affect their coverage at all? They still have insurance, correct? If the broker is not, we did not approve the broker, okay? Do the employees still have insurance
Yes.
without a broker, yes or no?
Medical insurance.
I understand. It just that, I don't know if I'm equipped to answer the question, and that is.
Well, the
because-
gentleman here just said they do. He stated right my first question, he said yes. That we still have-
That I can
No, no,
answer
no,
this
no.
question?
No,
No, you.
they still have insurance.
No. Yeah, yes, I'm not going to say that they don't have insurance, but there's much more to this answer that, in my years of experience with all the things that I've been involved in, I have not been in a community or a town for the last 30 years that was not under the state health benefit plan. So I don't know all the nuances to where you're leading to get to the question. I mean, yes, there would be insurance, but as Mike is saying, the most integral part of the, for them to provide it is for the broker to go out and, work with Delta Dental or all the,
The way they have to, it's a separate
Yeah.
question that at another time, and we've gone over this in the past, and we can do it again, I guess, at the next meeting, you're self-insured.
Right.
So you say there's no insurance, you're self-insured. You allocate and appropriate the dollars to a certain level. If there's a catastrophic illness beyond that, you need to procure, and you do procure, catastrophic insurance. That can only be procured through a licensed broker.
Correct.
Okay, so you say you're asking the question, is there insurance? The answer is no. Insurance is a contract that you buy from an insurance company. Without a broker, you cannot have insurance.
I totally understand that. What I'm saying is Fairview was voted out. They do not have to be the broker.
because they're not looking.
Well, that's not a question for IDA.
No, I know that's not. No, I'm not. I'm not asking you that question. I'm just stating that for the record, that they were not.
Here's a question I have for you.
Sure.
Is that the individual that's our broker now, okay? I'm not going to say their name. If there, all of a sudden, there was a change of a broker, explain to us, you've been in this line of work for 30 years, what takes place next? So right now, the broker right now.
Well, you guys, I believe, vote on that piece. So until that's voted on,
So what is your relationship with a broker going through a transition?
well, our piece to the puzzle is that we are involved with, like we did last week, we were at every site here in the town, doing meetings, going over the benefits, answering questions. We process the claims. We are
Yes.
appointed just like everybody else
Absolutely.
is appointed.
You're a third-party administrator.
We are a third-party administrator.
yes.
We do a lot of municipal business in the state of New Jersey. So our job is to handle the claims, and just like Horizon, Oxford United, the State Health Benefits Plan, et cetera. And that's what we do. And so last week, we were around the town discussing the insurance programs that are offered by the town with our broker and other Delta Dental, VSP, the other vendors that the town has for their insurance. So our role is to support everybody in the town and process the claims and handle the administration of the program the way it should be.
So it's not uncommon for your years of service, 30 years of doing this, it's not uncommon to have change of brokers.
Well, it's not uncommon.
It's not uncommon. Okay.
Mr. Atkinson, is this your brochure from Atlantic City? You had it?
Yep, that's our company brochure, yes.
I did have an opportunity to speak to, people at the table there and ask them questions about insurance. It's good that you're there to provide solutions to all elected officials throughout the state of New Jersey and have a table set up. What I understand is that there's no effect on coverage for services for our employees if there's a change of broker.
Well,
Yes or no?
the coverage, the benefit, their deductible, their copays, et
With all
cetera.
respect, that's not a
That's-
question.
Nothing changes.
Your
It's not a
plan
question
design
for
is your
IDA.
plan
It's not a
design.
question
I
for a
mean, I'm
third-party
not here
administrator.
to, your benefits are your
Well,
benefits.
you know your business has a third-party administrator. So when brokers change, you are still in force. Your insurance is still in force. And it's no effect upon our employees.
Not necessarily.
He doesn't.
I mean, that's not my decision. I don't get involved in that end of it.
Okay.
We're appointed to do the administration of the plan for the town, and that's what we do.
So, just real quick, I'm trying to make it just as simplistic as possible. I am covered for X, Y, and Z. You're my administrator, okay? I have the same ailments, the same issues going on, okay? My broker right now, obviously, has been working with you for my contract, my insurance plan that I have. So if something hypothetically happened to that broker, right, Lou Valori is still going to have his insurance, and I'm still going to be getting covered for X, Y, and Z. It's just going to be a new broker working with you to administer any issues or any possibly changes in that contract.
Not true.
Possible, yes.
Okay.
No, if you have,
I have a contract. I have a contract right now. Okay, I'm covered for X, Y, and Z. You are my administrator because I've called you. Or not you, I've called your office before.
with respect to the fund that's created for them
Okay.
to
Well,
The town
administrate.
is, we administer the town benefits.
Yes.
Right?
The
you-
town's administering based on what's in my contract, which I'm obviously required or say contractually obligated to get. But my point of the matter is, this broker happens to go bankrupt or something happens. My point of the matter, if the broker's replaced, it's not going to affect what you have to do with obviously providing me a service and providing the town a service.
Possible.
Okay. So basically, the feeling that I'm getting from you is if there's a change of broker,
Could be
it's
a
just a change of a broker.
It could be a
Insurance-
change of administrator. Could
Okay.
be a change of
Okay.
case manager.
I have
But if you're
Ann
voted
just
in.
wants to add something to the,
Yeah,
to the discussion.
The employees do not contact you directly, am I right?
I've contacted IDA. their
Most of
office.
the time, from what I understand, they contact the broker.
No.
I just wanted.
No, that is totally, listen, I've been
No, I'm
with
just-
the
I'm-
town 30 years almost getting insurance. No. I had many problems where I contacted IDA, and in regards to the other company's name, in regards to billing, their turnaround rate is horrible with taking care of the bills. So, no, IDA, or your benefit guy here,
Well, I would
someone who receives it.
respectfully disrespect, I mean, I don't agree with that comment at all. I mean, what the brokers do for you in this town is tremendous, and I heard it firsthand this week from the members of the community that we were at.
No,
But I do believe that they
listen,
do a great
I do admire
job.
what you're saying, but unfortunately, I think your polling process of who you're hearing it from, maybe you should kind of dig down deep into the weeds in regards to how the program's in place here with bills being placed, because I could reach out to probably 20, 30 members who the billing is phenomenal, where they're not getting their bills taken care of. So based on who you're speaking to, maybe you're speaking to somebody who's actually happy with the service, but there's many that are not happy with the service.
I'd like to state for the record that now that Ann and I are going to be much more involved in working on the insurance. We did have a meeting today, and one of the purposes of that meeting with the broker was to say that we are not totally satisfied with how things are being paid.
And that's factual. That's factual.
And so therefore, I try to find a solution to that problem.
I would
And
say
ha-
a solution several years in the making here. Okay, go on.
No, the solution is already in the making.
Okay.
And what we did was, as everybody knows, you don't even have to, she's well-known, you can just say Jackie. Jackie is someone that has been intimately involved with people's processing.
She's out of Fairfield, though, right? Fairfield, Jackie?
Yeah, Jackie
She's out of
is our,
Fairfield.
yeah.
Who's Jackie work for?
She works for our broker.
Yeah.
Now, what Jackie is going to do is, we just met with them today, is she's going to be in the building. We're going to put her on a regular schedule, just like our health professional, as Gail is, and she's going to meet with people. There's going to be a set time where people can come in and say they have concerns. There's some issues where, in all due respect to some of our employees, that they hold on to some of their information and don't put them in. I will not disagree with you, Councilman Valori. Yes, there are also times, and with any broker or any entity, where things go awry. However, moving forward and getting involved, more intimately involved with this aspect now of another large requirement that the town has taken on, which is self-insurance, I believe this will be one of the ways in which to, moving forward, solve a lot of the issues where, in fact, have that person go at 6 o'clock in the morning to some of the folks that are the early persons
Yes.
that go and meet with them and be there for them and be a direct, not a voice on the phone or in a but to be physically there. So I'm just saying there's a lot of moving parts in this community that I came to.
Ellen, if
only-
I could reach across and give you a
Yes.
big hug, you always try to help out. But just to let you know, the voice of my reasoning here was, I sat here a year ago, and I looked like the bad guy because I was mentioning these concerns of many employees. Yeah, there are some employees who maybe don't have a lot of medical issues, and they should be happy that they're healthy, and they don't have a lot of bills that they're submitting. But I will tell you for the record, there's many employees that are not as healthy as they should be, or their children that they're trying to get obviously reimbursements on, and there's over 2 or 3 dozen at least. So I wouldn't just bring this up. But what concerns me is
I've been there.
but we
I've
had this
talked to those
broker
people.
here. My point is, we had this broker here, and if that broker would have addressed with what obviously Ellen's putting in place now with this this woman from Fairfield.
But that's
maybe
been
these
in
things would-
place.
Exactly, so.
That has been in place. Jackie's been
Okay,
a
but Jackie.
tremendous...
Yeah, but not the physicality.
Not-
I
we were
said
there
we just
last
felt it would be
week.
more. She has.
Last year we
so
did
my
the same
point
thing.
is if this Jackie was maybe here and hearing the concerns of others,
right,
maybe this wouldn't be going as far as it's going right now. So I'm glad that Ellen's here trying to put something in place here. I'm glad that you did show up. But
no, I mean,
again, there were concerns, legitimate concerns
Mr.
about
Atkinson,
that broker.
are you contradicting what our administrator is saying? That
Not at all, no. Ellen's right on point. I mean,
You just
Jackie's
said-
been
you
a
just said that
tremendous...
Jackie's been here. And that's
Oh,
been-
absolutely.
Been,
I never-
been
process
here,
already.
but
I never met
not the way I'm describing it. On the phone, and people have reached out to her. Joe Strelick, who is very active. Paula.
Joe and Jackie talk regularly. I talk with Jackie regularly.
However,
I mean, we all
there
talk.
just needs to be. We need to be more proactive.
Absolutely.
And we wrapped our heads around it, and we said, what's the best way? And this was one of the things that we thought, this will truly make a difference. I didn't come late to the dance. I just got, do you know I'm not even here a year and a half, not until the 16th?
Unacceptable.
Stop. Anyway, there's just a lot of moving parts, and we are trying to work it out. We work very hard. There's a lot of, that. There's a lot of people. You work hard, too. So I just wanted to go on record as that these things are being addressed, but there's a lot to be addressed.
Yeah, also, in talking about putting things on the record, I just want to put on the record that, I did have some concerns about your company, Michael, in the sense that we did have an audit exception due to our statutory requirement of not meeting the SOC report and having a assured security coverage for us per occurrence. So I know the administration has given you extreme leniency, and they asked for all that to be resolved by June 30th. My question now, in light of that, is I do not want to have another audit exception for our municipality, number one. And number two is I wanted to see if we have a written recommendation, this question is directed towards the administration, if we have a written recommendation from our township auditor, Mr. Sarinelli, to indicate that he believes that they are in compliance with the SOC report. We do have the surety coverage and a separate policy, for at least $10 million to cover us per occurrence in place. And furthermore, I just want to ensure that legally that documentation has been reviewed before we, approve anything this evening.
What I will say on the record, as we have had a lot of the questions or a lot of the statements that the Councilman Paluso has put on the record have been a dialogue, but he's stating it for the record. However, we have had dialogue as late as even today with regard to this. It's not a simple answer, and it's not a quick answer, so let me just tell you a little bit of, I'm not actually speaking to Mike, and I did advise Mike that, yeah, I had some concerns. I work very closely, Ann and I work on these things in addition to a lot of other things, and one of the things, and the mayor as well, and that was that we were told, in fact, you're right about the date of June with regard to the SOC report. Then, as we sit on this dais, Ann got a call in August that the SOC report was completed, and it was done in August. We were told that there were a few things that needed to be addressed, and we didn't receive it. Ann and I have met with we meet on a somewhat of a regular basis with the auditor and deal with it. I guess it was maybe only 2 weeks ago. We sat and I said, Ann, did you ever get the SOC report? And she said no. She had to reach out to Joe Strelick of our office. She had reached out for them. So I said, I just got out of the meeting right then and there. I walked into the mayor's office and I said, we need to call Paul, the head of IDA, when we want the SOC report. He did return the call. We said, look, you can't, this raises issues. We're concerned. Where is that SOC report? For those that don't know, a SOC report is that they're saying that there's a viability here, that the payments are being made. We're talking about $10 to $12 million worth of funding that we're turning over. So anyway.
Just to expand upon that, as a third-party administrator, you're holding anywhere between $10 and $12 million of our money.
Well, we never really touch your money.
But we have a fiduciary responsibility to
Right.
taxpayers.
I mean, we process the claims you funded, it's a
to-
pass-through.
I'm not
that's-
trying to be
that- yeah.
disrespectful, but we have a fiduciary responsibility to
course.
taxpayers to ensure that the SOC report is completed and the liability coverage is in place. Because $10 to $12 million of our township money, especially when it comes to our employees' welfare, is nothing to sneeze at.
Right.
And then what happened was, when we did talk to Paul, the mayor and I were told that the SOC report was completed. So I said, well, where's the draft copy? If you've paid for it back in August, you should act. Now, you should have gotten in touch with us instead of us getting in touch with you. I'm going to put that on the record, too, so everybody knows that I'm very fair here. Well, the mayor said by the end of the week, we needed to have it. Ann was in receipt of it. I was not here when we received, I guess we received it Monday. It was turned immediately over to your our auditor, your appointed auditor. And I was on the phone today with Ray Serenelli. And although it's in the lateness of the hour, I was told that, he has reviewed it. And at this point, he's comfortable with it, but we wanted to, before he puts anything in writing. So where I'm thinking we're going, with that being said, Ann has assured me, and I assured you, Councilman Paluso, that the surety and the other additional insurance has been received and was received earlier. Yeah, much earlier than when we just received the SOC report. So maybe in the effort of, or in the process here, that we do have a final meeting, so that I can get the documentation that you would like.
I would like to see it. Thank you so much.
December, 29th meeting, that we get, we have our attorney review after Ray gives us the
That'd be fair.
writing, okay?
Yes, I'd feel more comfortable.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much for understanding.
Ellen, you're the best.
I'm gonna,
Thank you.
thank you.
Poor woman, she's getting drained up here.
Somehow it's not so.
So it's good.
No, I mean, it's a lot to work on. And thanks, Mike.
Go ahead and make it.
I think that's how we have to handle it.
Ellen, so are you pulling it until the 29th?
I'm asking if that's what, we can do that.
It's up to you.
I mean,
I would motion
it's up to
to
you.
table it
I mean,
until the
I'm just the administrator, acting clerk.
No, I agree. I would table it to the 29th.
You're making a motion.
I'm making a motion to table it until the 29th, until such a time when we can have our attorney review it and also our township auditor make a recommendation that everything is in place.
Just that one number, just 190.
Just Resolution 2015-190, please.
Okay, motion made by Mr. Paluso. I'll second the motion. Roll call.
Mr. DePiero,
Okay.
Mr. Paluso?
Yes.
Mr. Stanton?
Yes.
Mr. Valuri?
Yes.
Mr. Karifi?
Yes.
Before we continue with the motion to approve all resolutions, I do have some concerns. Resolution 183, 2015, 183, 84, 85, 86, 87, and I'm just stressing my concern. I'm not asking for the resolution to be pulled, but customarily, when we do have a tax appeal settlement, apparently these settlements show the assessment values. And for those in the public that see that, what you're not seeing is the dollar amount of the settlement. Usually with this type of documentation, we have an expert, we have a lawyer, and a tax assessor's written recommendation as to the dollar amount that we're approving. And I don't see that attached to
Well, no,
these resolutions.
you have that. First of all, those are recommendations. That's attorney-client privilege information. You have all of that. I gave that to you over a week ago.
Yeah.
The assessor was in the closed session and explained that
Yes,
to you.
and
So I don't know what else.
Well, I
we're
talked to the
supposed
assessor,
do.
and the assessor did say it was customary to have that when I did ask for it. But I'm not asking for it to be pulled, but I just want to indicate, because if you do look at some of these resolutions, it looks like an absorbent amount of assessment, but apparently it's not.
All of the money that is being refunded is well within the budget
That's correct.
for refunds that is set up. And as we've indicated several times in the past, and we will again, there's a review committee that consists of Mr. Weaver from my office, your assessor, and the appraiser, and they all have to agree before the recommendation is made to you. And these are not considered large cases.
That's correct, and that's what I want to stress. for the
And they're all
audience as
well within the budget constraints that you've established.
Thanks for confirming that.
Consent agenda. Be it resolved, all items listed with an asterisk are considered to be routine, non-controversial by the Township Council, be approved by one motion. There'll be no separate discussion of these items unless the council member so requests, which case the item will be removed from the consent agenda, considered in its normal sequence on the agenda.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Stanton, seconded by Mr. Valori. Roll call.
Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Mr. Paluso?
Yes.
Mr. Stanton?
Yes.
Mr. Valuri?
Yes.
Mr. Karifi?
Yes. Township office reports, none.
I have something before we go forward. One thing that I did do was, from our last council meeting, we had Mr. Karifi approach the dais and talk about reimbursement of fees, but in addition, he provided the council, this dated October 25th, 2015, a recommendation from our hearing officer, and I did talk about that at the last council meeting. It was from Divine Leadership Concepts. After further reviewing that and seeing that our hearing officer has made a recommendation, I would like the motion to accept the hearing officer's recommendation dated 10/25/15 as he recommends from Divine Leadership Concepts.
So,
Motion.
okay, so, can you, don't mind me, I'm trying to keep up with what you said. Can you elaborate just on that again?
Sure. Mr. Karifi had dropped off, and I confirmed the legitimacy of it with Joseph Devine, our Chief of Investigations, for our hearing officer. He made recommendations dated October 25th, 2015. His company is Divine Leadership Concepts, in which the mayor had approved him as our hearing officer, and we had approved him as being our hearing officer. He's making recommendations, and I see his recommendation is that Parsippany should only consider concluding the matter at this time. So I would like to make a motion to accept October 25th, 2015's hearing officer recommendation.
Before you accept that recommendation, Chief Devine has given us to December 18th to respond to that letter, which we will be doing. We'll be responding with regards to his letter that he sent us. So this would be premature for you to even vote on this, considering that if he accepts our letter, it would be, like I said, premature.
My input would be this, is that if, obviously, you reached out to him.
Yes, I did.
Mr. Karifi did obviously present it. I saw the packet that we all received. Again, knowing Chief Devine, being in this line of work for a very long time, worked for the Morris County Prosecutor's Office, was actually the chief of police under, at the time, that would have been Mayor Inglesino. I have to bite my tongue. I know that he's a very reputable guy. And again, just not going off the seat of my pants here, that being in law enforcement for almost 25 plus years and being in the military for almost 30 years, reading through that, it's very detailed. And I will just give you my opinion. Being in internal affairs for a little over 5 years and working these type of cases and going through the whole administrative process with obviously civil service, going down to Newark, hearing the judge obviously rendering a decision, going in front of an appointed chief of police such as Chief Devine, and just kind of all of us living through this whole process and hearing different testimonies from our chief of police and other, obviously, captains that gave their testimony. I feel very confident and comfortable. And again, I worked for our prosecutor, which is Prosecutor Knapp, when he was the guru in dealing with all these cases with the Morris County Sheriff's Office with Mr. Trimbley. So needless to say, Mr. Devine, or Chief Devine, is very reputable, and I respect his decision. So I'm going to second your motion there.
Thank you.
But we're still going to be sending him a letter with regards to the recommendation.
And you have every right to do that. Yeah.
And, what you're doing is you're precluding, your guys are making a decision based on a letter that he hasn't even seen yet, that he will be getting on the recommendation that he made. He gave us to December 18th to respond.
Okay, but the only thing is,
Nowhere in the letter, as it says, the 18th to respond.
Not that it doesn't.
No.
But there's emails between,
Well, we had a motion, we had a second, so roll call.
well, your motion won't really take effect until, this is, you can make that motion later, but not now. It makes no sense.
Roll call.
So-
Mr. DiPiero?
I had requested several times when these discussions go on that we hear from the attorney that's representing us on this case before we make decisions and vote on things. Unfortunately, he had a death in the family, so it was delayed this week.
Yeah.
We would have heard this week. I would say you should at least wait till you hear from the attorney that's representing the township before you go running off voting for all these things. I vote no.
Well, respectfully, Mr. DePiero, I did do my homework. I went
We're in
right
the
to
middle
the
of
You
the
source.
didn't do your homework, Councilman.
I spoke
You
to
spoke-
Joseph Devine, which is the hearing officer, and which was
did not.
recommended
We're in
by
the
the
middle of a
mayor,
roll call.
Yeah.
recommended by the mayor, and approved by.
That doesn't matter if he's recommended by the mayor. You
council.
didn't do your homework.
Roll call, please, continue.
Mr. Paluso?
Yes.
Talk about
Mr. Stanton?
Inspiring.
I just have to ask Mr. Paluso.
Sure.
Just explain to me what your actual motion is, only because I've had to abstain because
Yes.
the case was never over.
Yes.
What is your,
Accept the hearing officer's recommendation as dated October 25th, 2015, from the Divine Leadership Concepts.
okay, so then I'm in the same situation because there could be a possible appeal process, so I have
Well,
to abstain.
it's not so much of an appeal process. He even says in the letter that he will hear the case if the township wants to hear the
Nora, you
case.
can continue. Roll call.
So, Mr.
Mr.
Paluso.
Valori?
it's
Yes.
amazing.
Mr. Karifi?
Abstain.
What's the count?
2 yes, 2 abstain, 1 no.
Thank you.
Okay, ordinance for introduction, none. Resolutions, non-consent agenda, Mr. Valori, 198.
yes, Resolution 2015-198, resolution of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills authorizing the cancellation of tax sale premiums.
Motion made by Mr. Valori, seconded by Mr. Stanton. Roll call.
Mr. DiPiero?
Yes.
Mr. Paluso?
Yes.
Mr. Stanton? Mr. Valori?
Yes.
Mr. Karifi?
Yes.
Do you want me to read
Mr.
199?
DePiero? No.
Resolution 2015-199, resolution of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills appointing a certified municipal registrar and a deputy registrar for the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills. Motion to approve the above resolution.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. DePiero, seconded by Mr. Stanton. Roll call.
Mr. DiPiero?
Yes.
Mr. Paluso?
Before I vote on that, I'd just like to converse with the conversation I had with our business administrator, Ellen Sandman. This is a temporary assignment. We appreciate everybody that's been volunteering and helping. Now that we have elected in a full-time municipal clerk and they have been appointed, and it's temporary, I vote yes.
Mr. Stanton?
Yes.
Mr. Valori?
Yes.
Mr. Karifi?
Yes. At this time, two things I would just like to, tonight is Mr. Stanton's last meeting, or actually the 29th.
You already throwing them out? Or what?
I'm throwing them out, yeah. So we'll wait until the 29th for that. I forgot about that. So, but, okay, and the other thing is, I just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and a healthy and safe and enjoyable time. Thank you.
Merry Christmas, happy holidays.
Okay, at this time, I entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting. Motion made by Mr. Stanton, seconded by Mr. Paluso. Roll call.
Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Mr. Paluso?
Yes.
Mr. Stanton?
Yes.
Mr. Fleury?
Yes.
Mr. Karifi?
Yes.
No, I can make it.
Everything was attached.